Sound, crossing a room as ripples of pressure. Light, racing through empty space. Ripples, spreading across a pond. An earthquake, tearing through solid rock. A guitar string, singing. 5 completely different worlds. And yet, underneath, every single one of them obeys the same equation. Not similar equations. The same one. It's called the wave equation, and once you see what it's really saying, waves stop being mysterious. So let's build it from scratch. Not just solve it. Derive it, understand it, and then watch it come alive. Here is the equation, and by the end of this minute, you'll read it like a sentence. 2 sides, 1 message. The right side measures how bent the string is at each point. The left side measures how hard that point accelerates. Let's translate both, starting with the bend. So what is curvature, exactly? Pick any point on the string, and look at its 2 neighbors. Connect those neighbors with a straight line. Does our point stick out beyond that line? Then the string is curved there, and the size of that gap is precisely what the right side of the equation measures. Now watch the gap as I flatten the string. The point sinks back onto the line between its neighbors, the gap dies, and the curvature reads 0. No bend, nothing for the right side to report. A straight string is the shape the string wants. Now the physics. A bent string is a stretched string, and tension fights back. Every point gets pulled toward straight, and the pull is proportional to the curvature right there. Look at the pattern as the bend returns. The sharpest bend, at the peak, feels the strongest pull. The gentle bends near the pinned ends barely feel anything. Bow the string the other way, and every arrow flips. Downward bump, upward pull. The force never pushes the bend further. It always argues back toward straight. So release the string, and let the argument play out. The pull accelerates it toward flat, it overshoots, bows the other way, and gets pulled straight back. Bend, pull, overshoot, repeat. Now read the equation one more time. It is just that story, written in symbols. The acceleration of each point equals c squared times the curvature at that point. And because every point drags its neighbors along, the argument spreads down the string at speed c. That spreading argument is a wave. But why exactly does curvature equal acceleration? No hand waving. We derive it from a real string. Here's the whole string, and here's the piece we're going to interrogate, one tiny element, so small it's almost straight. Almost. Tension pulls on this element from both sides, always along the string. And here is the entire secret of the derivation. Because the element is curved, the slope at its right end is slightly different from the slope at its left end. So the 2 pulls point in slightly different directions. Focus on the vertical parts of those 2 pulls. On an upward bump, both lean downward, and because the slopes differ, they don't cancel. A small net force is left over, and its size is the change in slope across the element. The change in slope is the curvature. There it is, curvature literally is the leftover force. Now Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration. The mass of the element is its density mu, times its length delta x, write it out, and notice delta x appears on both sides. Cross it out. What remains is the wave equation. Nothing was assumed. It is just F equals ma, applied to a bent string. And look what the wave speed turns out to be. C squared is tension over density, so C is the square root of T over mu. Suddenly, the speed has engineering meaning. Tighten the string, and the wave races. Make the string heavier, and it crawls. Watch the same pulse on 2 different strings. And by the way, this is exactly why tuning a guitar works. Turning the peg changes T, which changes C, which changes the pitch. To solve this on a computer, one move changes everything. Stop thinking of the string as continuous, and chop it into points. Each point only talks to its two neighbors. Take point I, here in the middle, and run the exact test from earlier, connect its neighbors with a straight line, and measure how far the point sticks out. Now put that gap into symbols. The neighbor's average is ui plus 1, plus ui minus 1, over 2. Subtract the point itself, and you get this famous expression. It is not a formula to memorize, it is the neighbor test from earlier, in computer form. That is the curvature. Time gets the same treatment, past, present, future. Rearrange once, and you get a marching rule, the next position of every point, from its last two positions and its two neighbors. Watch one single update happen, the point steps toward the line between its neighbors. Exactly what the physics said it should do. Then the whole algorithm is, sweep along the string, update every point, step the clock, repeat. 2 lines of number py. That's the entire solver, and next, we let it run. Here's a real run of that 2-line solver. One pulse, traveling right, toward an end that is clamped, pinned at 0, always, no exceptions. Watch what the wall does. It came back upside down. Let's see that again, in slow motion. Watch the wall itself, as the pulse arrives, that point simply cannot move. The only way the mathematics can hold it at exactly 0, is to send back a perfect inverted copy, so the two cancel right at the wall. The cancellation is the inversion. Now the crucial test, and before I run it, make a prediction. Same equation. Same pulse. But this time the end is free to slide up and down, nothing pins it. Will the reflection flip again, or not? Lock in your answer. Here it comes. Upright. Same equation, same energy, opposite reflection. If the flip came from some vague energy argument, both walls would behave the same. They don't. The difference is purely the boundary condition. A pinned end forces you to 0, and reflects inverted. A free end forces the slope to 0, and reflects upright. Two tiny equations at the edges, deciding everything. Before we go on, the pulse we've been watching is hiding something remarkable. It's secretly made of standing waves, added together. I'm not speaking poetically. Watch. Here are the first 3 ingredients, 3 pure sine shapes, each with its own strength. Add just those together, and the copy is terrible. But keep going, 7 waves, 15, and by 25 standing waves, the sum is indistinguishable from the pulse. Every wave on this string, every pulse, every wiggle you will ever see, is standing waves in disguise. This is Fourier's idea, alive and moving. So let's meet one of these standing waves properly. Start the string as a pure sine shape and let the solver run. Nothing travels. It breathes in place, always inside the same envelope. Now look at these points. They never move. Not a little, not at all. They're called nodes. And halfway between them, the antinodes swing with maximum violence. The entire motion lives between pin stillness and full swing. And here's the punchline of the whole series. These standing waves are exactly the eigenvectors from our eigenvalue video. Fourier gave us the frequencies. Eigenvalues gave us the shapes. The wave equation makes them move. 3 videos, 1 idea. One honest catch, and it's a famous one. Take too big a time step, and the whole simulation explodes. Here's the picture that explains why. Think of each grid point as needing to hear the news that a wave is coming from its neighbor. With a small time step, the wavefront moves less than 1 cell per step. Watch the points light up, every single one hears the news, in order. Neighbor to neighbor. Stable. Now crank the time step up. The front travels 2 cells per step, it jumps clean over a grid point. Look at that point. It never lit up. It never got the news. The scheme's bookkeeping breaks, and the errors feed on themselves. Written as a formula, it's the Courant condition, C delta T over delta X must stay at or below 1. The clock must never outrun the grid. And this is not theoretical. Same solver, same pulse, but C equals 1.05. Just 5% over the limit. Watch the counter. For a while, nothing, then noise is born out of pure round-off, doubles every step, and eats the solution alive. Every engineer who runs simulations has been burned by this at least once. Step back, and this one equation runs an astonishing amount of the world. Change what C means, the speed of sound, of light, of a seismic wave through rock, and the very same equation describes them all. Learn it once, and you've learned a piece of every one of these fields. And with that, the trilogy is complete. Fourier gave us the frequencies. Eigenvalues gave us the shapes. The wave equation makes them move. If you missed the first two, they're on screen now, each one builds the next. Every frame you watched came from the two-line solver we built, traveling waves, both reflections, standing modes, even the blow-up. The full code is free on the GitHub below. Break it. Fix it. Make it yours. No black box. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.